What's up guys, this is Nathan, ThatAlbumReviewerGuy, and I'm here to review the new Five Finger Death Punch album, Fate. This is the 8th album from the Las Vegas rock and metal band. I know I've talked about Five Finger Death Punch a little bit on this channel. I used to be a huge fan of the band, and honestly I still like their first 4 albums for the most part. However, even when I was big into them, I realized that the quality of their music started declining around the time of the double album, Part 2 in particular. Everything from that point onward in the band's discography is just really not worth the time to listen to, except maybe a song here and there. Ivan Moody was going through a lot of personal struggles, but he's sober now, so that's good at least. Jeremy Spencer ended up leaving the band in between their last album and this one, but now Charlie Engen is behind the kit and Five Finger Death Punch are at it once again. They released 3 singles before the album actually came out. Inside Out has a solid groove to it, and Full Circle is fairly solid as well. Ivan sounds fine on this track, and there's a decent riff in the bridge. They, along with the Fate intro, start the album off well enough.
I know I'm never going to change the world. I'm not sure that I could.
The third single though, Living the Dream, just doesn't do it for me. While the other 2 singles were standard for Five Finger Death Punch, they showed off the band's better qualities. Living the Dream is just boring. Not completely effortless, but it's just a forgettable song. Then we get into A Little Bit Off, which is an early contender for Worst Song of the Year in all honesty. The lyrics are abysmal, the pointless effects placed on Ivan's voice are distracting and take away from the song more than they add to it. And that whole hey hey chorus has been done to death by the band at this point. Bottom of the Top isn't much better. This is just another Ivan being mad at things and yelling about it song. I don't think this track is good, but quite honestly, it's more boring than it is bad. To Be Alone is okay. The verses give me a weird Voltaire vibe. If you're not familiar with Voltaire, he's a dark cabaret singer, but anyway, the chorus is just more of the same from the band. Nothing special. I can also say there's nothing special about the next track, Mother May I, TikTok. Again, it's not terrible, but it's not memorable. Darkness Settles In is actually pretty decent. It has a nice shift in tone between the softer verses and the slightly heavier chorus. Nothing necessarily new from them, but refreshing to hear on this album. And This Is War brings it right back down with another adrenaline and testosterone-fueled, angry fuck-it-all track. That's really all I have to say about that one. Leave It All Behind is another track with a decent groove and decent vocals, but it's also pretty boring. You can tell by this point in the track list how monotonous this record gets. Scar Tissue continues the trend of angry screaming verses and more melodic choruses, but it's still a weak track overall. The album ends with Brighter Side of Grey. It's a cheesy anthem, but it's not bad. The vocals sound solid enough, as do the instrumentals. It's just a pretty lukewarm note to end the standard edition of the album on.
When the lights go down, know that I am never far away.
The album also includes 3 bonus tracks, which I'm not factoring into my score, but I'll touch on them briefly. Making Monsters is more boring angry metal. Death Punch Therapy comes off as a self-indulgent track to me. It even completely copies and pastes the bridge from their song White Knuckles off of their first album. And the last bonus track is the radio edit of Inside Out, which features an intro. Not much else to say there. As a whole though, I can't really say I'm disappointed with this album. Here's why. You can only be disappointed so many times before it becomes an expectation. I was hoping for Five Finger Death Punch to at least put out a halfway decent album this year, but I was expecting them to deliver something like this. Now it could be worse. After all, there are no covers on this album, which is a minor step forward. But they're just rehashing the same formula over and over again, and while I've said this many times, it works for some bands, and I don't mind it from some bands. But with Five Finger Death Punch, they actually have talent and potential, but they're not utilizing it anymore, and that's a shame. Overall, I give Fate a 4 out of 10. I don't know if this is the worst album I've heard this year so far, but it's just so boring. And guys, I've made my decision. I'm done with Five Finger Death Punch. This will be the last album I check out from them. They're just not doing it for me anymore. But their first 4 albums are still solid enough. Thank you guys for watching the review. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think about this album. You can follow me on my social media links in the description, and check out some more videos in the gimmick on screen. I'll see you all next time.
I'm not sure that